All right, we're going a little niche today, but I promise today's topic is super relevant for anyone who has a website or is thinking about starting a website, because this is one of the most overlooked pieces of your whole brand and your website. And it is super, super, super important. So I'm so glad I got this question from Peter. What is the significance of the favicon? Don't worry, I'm going to address what that is. And how does it fit into the overall brand? Let's dive in. I promise this one is worth sticking around for. Hey, beautiful human, and welcome to the Bold Women in Business Summer Series, where we're going for fast, fierce clarity so you can get back to your busy summer plans. I'm your host, Rachel Honeyman, founder of Honey Be Bold, and in 15 minutes or less, I'm going to answer one game-changing question to help you brand smarter, market bolder, and connect deeper. Go grab your floaties and let's dive in. Okay, what is a favicon? Let's start there. When you open your browser on your computer, if you're anything like me, you've got 72 tabs open. And each of those tabs has a little icon that helps you identify what that website is. We are looking at, so many tabs, and maybe you're not a 72 tabs type of person, but it's still useful to have an anchor to know what website am I clicking over to when I'm trying to find the tab that I'm looking for. And that's what the favicon is. It's that little icon in the browser window. Here's the thing. Most people ignore this, especially if you've DIY'd your website or you're creating a website on your own. This is a tiny little detail that feels insignificant, but it is super important. And it makes such a difference in your overall brand and the functionality and professionalism of your website. So the favicon is one way to make your DIY website really stand out, really look professional. And if you have hired someone to make you a website and they have not given you a favicon, run. Okay. This is such an important detail. So what most people do is they just leave the default. And if you're building your website on Squarespace or WordPress or Wix or whatever platform you're building your website on, they all come with a default favicon. And it's usually going to be the logo for their platform, right? So Squarespace is a little black gray cube. WordPress is a little W icon. I don't remember what Wix's is, but you get the idea. They all have this default favicon built into their platform. And if you do not override that with a custom favicon, that's what's going to show up at the top of the browser. And probably right now, if you look at your browser tabs that are open, if you are in the 72 tabs camp like me, then you probably see a lot of W's and little gray boxes and other favicons that are the default option. But this little detail that feels insignificant is kind of like your brand's digital fingerprint. It follows your site everywhere. It's not just in the browser tab. It also is if someone bookmarks your website or they create a mobile shortcut or something like that, this favicon is going to follow your brand. And it's tiny, like really tiny. We're going to talk about that in just a second, but it reinforces your visual identity in this surprisingly powerful way. It really sets your brand apart and shows that you've put thought into every detail of your brand. And it doesn't really matter what you do, right? If you are an accountant or a coach or a therapist or a branding expert, whatever it is that you do, you're going to need attention to detail. Your clients are going to be looking for someone with attention to detail. And they are not necessarily going to make the connection that if you have the default favicon, that you're not a person who pays attention to the details. But if you do have a custom favicon, it's a signal to people that, oh, you've thought of everything, right? And so this is actually something that I do for my clients. I don't even tell them that I'm doing this necessarily. It's not something that I list in my deliverables for them. But when I deliver a website to a client, I'm always careful to show them the favicon that I have chosen for them because it really stands out. And it's something that allows their brand to stand out in a crowd of tabs, right? And really draw people in. If you go to my website, honeybebold.com, you'll see my favicon is the colorful lightning bolt in my logo, and it super stands out, right? It's something that is really eye-catching, eye-grabbing. It doesn't look like every other favicon out there. It really stands out, and it's super branded. So let's talk some favicon best practices, how to do it right. It's really simple. Okay. Number one is we want to keep it simple. We don't want to have anything complex. You shouldn't have any text really. Sometimes you'll have a single letter, like, Google's icon is a G, right? That's super recognizable because their G is very, very recognizable, very branded. But you don't want to have any complex text, any complex images, no taglines, nothing. It should be something that is super, super simple. And a strong single letter icon or shape is what's going to work best. Why does it need to be so simple? Because it needs to be recognizable at 16 by 16 pixels. Yes, it is that small. It's teeny, teeny, tiny. So you need something that is going to stand out even at that tiny, tiny, tiny size. Number two, make it consistent with your brand. It's really not a good idea to have a favicon that is pulling a different element into your brand. Generally, we pull the favicon from your logo icon, from some kind of brand mark, something that really stands out and shows people this website that they are landing on is your brand. So like I said, my favicon is the lightning bolt from my logo. It's not a separate new entity. It is pulled directly from my logo. You want to use your brand color palette if at all possible. Again, you want to make sure that it is clear right away that this is your brand and what you're offering. Number three, make sure that you are using a transparent background. A favicon that has a white box around it is going to look dated and off-brand and unprofessional. So make sure to export it as a PNG or SVG file with a transparent background, and that's going to make a huge difference. Number four is make sure that you're testing visibility at small sizes. So it may look amazing in Canva, but if you can't make it out at a tab size, it's just not working. So make sure that you're testing it out. If you need to make adjustments to it, be ready to do that. If you chose a specific, shape or icon that you thought was going to look good, but once you test it out at a small size, you may need to rethink, how are we approaching this? Number five is have different versions of your favicon for different backgrounds. So Squarespace is great with this, where they actually allow you to upload two different versions of the favicon. One for when people are browsing in dark mode and one for when they're browsing in light mode. And the reason this is important is because if you have, let's say, a very dark color icon, it's not going to show up well on a dark mode background, right? It's just going to blend into the tab. So having something that has contrast and is easy to see on a light background and on a dark background is really important. My favicon in particular shows up really beautifully on both. And so I didn't need different versions because it's just bright and colorful. So it shows up with contrast on both backgrounds. But if you have an icon that is, let's say, like a dark navy or a black or a gray or something like that, you want to make sure that you have a converse version that will show up nicely if someone is browsing in dark mode. And finally, do not just set it and forget it. If you go through a rebrand, you want to make sure that you're updating your favicon too. It should evolve with the rest of your branding because this is part of the total palette, the total experience of your brand. So how do favicons fit within the bigger brand picture? And why does it matter so much? I think it's pretty clear by now, like this is a more important detail than we think it is, right? We think it's just this little thing that shouldn't matter, but it really does matter. Part of why it matters is something that I am very passionate about. I talk about all the time. Part of your job as a brand and part of the job of your website is to really respect the person on the other side of the screen and think about their experience with your website, with your brand. And so whenever we can make it easier for them to engage with us, engage with our brand, that is a sign of respect to them. They are taking the time to check out our website based on whatever, right? whether they came across you on Google or they heard you on a podcast and they wanted to check you out, or they came across you on social media, wherever they found you, they are taking the time to go to your website. We need to make this a pleasant experience that is super, super easy for them. We don't want to give them extra steps. And so even the extra step of having to look through the many tabs that they have open on their computer and try to figure out which tab was it that I was looking at, and not having that anchor is really kind of disrespecting their time and energy. And so we want to really meet them with that show of respect. It also just makes it more pleasant to experience our brand, and it shows them that we are a brand that pays attention to the details, right? But favicons are part of this total brand architecture. It's your brand's digital infrastructure. And these little things show up in ways that reinforce consistency, and consistency equals trust, right? This is how we build trust with people, is we show that we are consistent across the board. Every touch point, every way that they engage with our brand, we are showing up consistently. So your bookmark bar is, repeat visits. Your tabs are brand recognition at a glance. Mobile shortcuts are, visibility even when your site's not open. These little details also communicate polish and professionalism. And this is especially important for service-based businesses. People are looking for someone who's going to show up with professionalism, with polish. And when I say polish, you know me by now, that I'm not talking about being perfect. We are messy and we want to be messy, and that's okay. But we still want to show that we are being attentive to detail and that we are showing up in the way that our clients need us to. So this is just one of those brand details that your dream clients may not even notice, but they feel it. It imbues this feeling of your total brand design. So yes, favicons are small, but like so much in branding, small details add up to big trust. We want to build trust with our dream clients. And trust is really what is going to convert and allow people to engage deeper with us. So this is your homework. Go check your website right now. Do you have a favicon in place? Does it match your brand vibe? Do you even know where to adjust your favicon? If you have no clue where your favicon lives on your website, that's okay. Don't worry. Most platforms make it really, really easy to find. And I'm familiar with the big platforms out there. So shoot me a DM. Tell me what platform your website is built on. And I'm happy to walk you through where you can update your favicon. If I don't know, I will let you know that, but usually I'll be able to figure it out. So shoot me a DM, an email, whatever, and I'm happy to help. Thanks for tuning in. All right, beautiful human, that's your bold hit of the week. Short, sharp, and straight to the point. If this helped, share it with a friend, leave a review, or DM me your biggest aha. This show was brought to you by my company, Honey Be Bold, with music by Shmukulele. Need help taking your business to the next level? Visit us at honeybebold.com, that's honeybebold.com, and set up a free vibe check with yours truly. Until next time, stay bold and always wear sunscreen.